What we're gonna do now is get comfortable and get into what we're about to get into. Welcome back to another POD podcast. I'm your brother Mordeeb, and we got an excellent show today. I got a great panel, and it's gonna be a good one. So y'all enjoy, and as we set the stage for what we're about to present to the world, y'all walk with us. All right, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Good, good, good.
That's good. That's
That's
good.
right.
Everybody knows me by now. I'm Brother Mordeeb. I would like to
More
welcome
deep.
welcome my
Brother more
guests
deep.
to the panel. I have my biological sister. She's a little under the weather, so we kind of keeping her screen blocked out. My sister Naisha, want to welcome to the panel. We got
Thank
Sister
you.
J. She's back.
Yeah.
I esteemed co-host, and we got the house furniture always in here like a couch. DCR, my brother DCR, and I'd like to welcome to the panel my brother Dave. We go way back, childhood friend, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Indeed.
we'll have
Yep.
to have a whole nother story to unpack our suitcase of our stories and our
Yep.
experiences throughout life. But we go way back, and yeah, definitely somebody just very close to
Yep.
me.
Yep.
But today's
DCR too.
yeah DCR.
Yep.
Yep. I've known him
Just
since I was 9.
to give context to my panel. We pretty much have grown up in the same area. We all know each other. You know, portions of our childhood, so we're very familiar with one another. This is like almost like a small, neighborhood family reunion situation we got going on here. So we're very familiar. Everybody knows everybody, so it's good to see everybody. I when I set the show up, I was sitting back and I was a little nervous because I was supposed to do this show for a minute and tackle this topic, but I wanted to do it right and I wanted to have the right panel and the right personalities on here. I will say this: I'm really glad that my sister decided, because she's a very private person, but she decided to come on, and to
Mm.
me, that's a very big deal for me. So, kudos to her.
I don't
Yes.
see
Yes.
Thanks for
it.
Yes.
inviting me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, today we're gonna talk about childhood trauma, and it's a very taboo uh topic, but it's something that we all share in whether we talk about it or not, and it all has affected our lives in some shape, form, or fashion. The thing about it is we're at a stage where we should be able to discuss it and heal.
Mhm.
And that's very important for the black community because we have a tendency of not speaking about things that are important on this level, but they have such a profound impact on our lives, and you don't want to continue the cycle of something and pass it down to your kids and they continue the whole cycle. So this show is about our personal stories, um, our struggles as well as our triumphs, and we're going to offer up some solutions on going forward on how to actually deal with this type of topic. So but the first thing I want to get into is like actually what is trauma, and it's a deeply distressing or disturbing experience that a person experiences throughout their life, and it has a profound effect on their evolution going forward. Um, One of the questions that I want to put forth to the panel, because trauma can be physical, it could be mental, it could be emotional, and it can also be spiritual. It can have spiritual trauma also. We're gonna kind of touch on some of those, and try to cover as much as we can in the podcast. But yeah, definitely. I'll start out off with I'll go ahead and spearhead the segue into the discussion. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, for far as me is concerned, that would also include my sibling, who's on the panel to some degree, is the type of trauma that shapes you as an adult, and you don't really realize the types of things that go into creating your psychology as you get older, and you don't realize that you have hindrances, you don't realize you have challenges, and you don't realize that you have what they call arrested development, meaning something has happened and it has stunted your growth to a degree, and you can't really see it until you're in it. I think the good thing about this particular panel, we are very proactive and very progressive in our thinking. And I think once we put forth our analogy on our personal situation as far as life is concerned, I think everybody would walk away with a sound right reasoning far as how this all pertains to everyone, actually, because we all have some level of trauma. But personally, for me, I think growing up, you know, in Jersey, some of the traumas that I didn't know were traumas. When you look at just the black household as a whole, most of us probably grew up without a mom, or we probably grew up with just a dad, or we grew up with just a mom and not a dad. There was some level of dysfunction when it comes just to the basic black household growing up, and like the you know late 70s and 80s. That was just a typical thing. But to us as young black youth, even being poor and growing up in the hood, you couldn't tell us that we had these types of issues because we just enjoyed life for what it is. We didn't realize our reality because at that point in time, we were just in such a real innocent view of life where we just enjoyed things as they were. But for me, I think I didn't start really noticing that I had some sort of trauma until I started to get into like one of my long haul serious relationships. And one of the things that I developed is, when you grow up in a household where you have parents who, well, let me rewind a little bit. I primarily grew up in a household with just my mom for a long duration until my sister came along. So it was just me and my mom. But when you look at the fact that she's always been a person who worked, black moms just always worked and took care of things that they needed to take care of, growing up in late 70s, early 80s and stuff like that. So moms worked, we played, we went outside, we did, childhood stuff growing up in what I consider kind of a golden era when kids actually went outside and built things and got into little neighborhood trouble and all that type of shit. But for the most part, I didn't realize I had issues until I got into long haul relationships. And my thing was, I pulled away from my experiences growing up around my mom, the fact that she always worked. So in a relationship for me was, I always have to work and provide. I always did that. But one of the challenges that I was having was my mate was always telling me that emotionally, I wasn't invested in the relationship. I knew that I cared for this person, and I knew that I had emotional attachment for this person, and I knew that I would do just about anything for this person, but I wasn't available emotionally because of trauma that I experienced early on in my childhood. And it wasn't until that mirror was held up that I realized that I had a whole suitcase full of shit that needed to be unpacked. And your relationships, because these are the people that are closest to you, they're going to be your mirrors, and they're going to show things to you, whether they realize it or not, but they're going to show things to you that you probably wouldn't see yourself. And that's when I started to really dig into how am I? Because I don't know how it is to be with me or deal with me. I can only bounce that information off of someone else and they give it back to me, and then I can get a consensus of, am I an asshole? Am I a good provider? Am I the touchy feely? Like, I need to know that with information coming off someone else and they bringing it back to me. And I was void of that because my programming was work, provide, cook, clean, stuff like that I saw my mom doing. But my mom, most of those moms and parents, late 70s, early 80s, they weren't touchy feely. They wasn't,
True.
snuggly.
Mhm.
They took care of
No.
business. We played,
Mhm.
and that's all we saw. And that's one of the programs we walked away with was work, be responsible, be productive. But we were void in so many other areas because our parents was working off a program they got. Provide,
All right.
hard work, do what you need to do. That was it. And that was the
Yeah.
MO, coming up. And
Mhm.
just to touch on that, that was some of the things that was one of the things that I noticed, that I was emotionally not available. It wasn't that I couldn't be emotional. I just wasn't available for it because in my rationale, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do as a young black man. What else do you want from me? And it's way deeper than that when you're dealing with, a female or a male. Either, whichever way it goes. There's more that has to be involved in that. But I digress for now, and I'm gonna allow someone else to jump in and kind of ride the wave on that a little bit. And as we bounce it around here, anybody want to step into the arena?
Ladies
Well, I
first.
don't. Um, well, I'll touch on it. I mean, I understand, of course, me and you growing up in the same house and everything, and just like you said, you know, I think things were just a little bit different for me, only because I know how you were saying, like, as far as, mommy, she just worked. She went to work. I've never known her not to have a job, like, ever. And she wasn't touchy feely or anything, but it's a little different for me because I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, my father's mom. So spending time with grandma, she taught, like, she did the touchy feely. She gave me hugs. She always told me she loved me. She always gave me kisses. She always made me feel special. She always, it was like she made me feel like the world wouldn't be good if Naisha wasn't in it. So it is different. Like how you're saying, like, I never even thought about, like, you in that term, like that with mommy, like, because she didn't, like, she wasn't touchy feely. She wasn't like, I love you, I love you. So now, like, when she says it, I remember, I think me and you talked about that. Like, she said it one day, I was like, huh?
Yeah,
I
it's a
didn't even
little
know what to
weird.
say.
Yeah.
Or she gave me a hug one time. I was like, huh? And she had to laugh too, because it was like really weird. But I know me and you had discussions even about our own kids, like how I told you, tell the boys, like, you love them, like, because that was something I would tell my kids, like, all the time, like, I love you, because I liked hearing it. So because I liked hearing it, I felt like they would like hearing it too. And I have to tell you, the 4-year old, he'll tell you like 100 times a day. He'll just be like, mommy, I love you. Mommy, to the point where you be like, Michael, I love you too. But it's like, but those are things, like, growing up, you do tend to do differently, only because of how you did grow up. But it is different though, because sometimes it's hard to even break that cycle of doing it. Because I remember when you had Nova, I watched you say I love you to Nova, but it was different, like, for the boys to say I love you. I'm like, give them huggies too. Like, tell them you love them too. Like, I tell my sons that, I tell my daughter, and Maya was like a big one who would always be like, mommy, do you love me? And I'm like, yeah, I love you. Like, I tell you all the time. So it is very hard, to break the cycle as well. And I do appreciate, I didn't even, like I said, I still didn't even realize how much, us growing up in the same house, but the impact, I always knew my grandmother had a big impact on my life, but just not even realize how much, like after she's gone, like realizing how much of an impact she had for me emotionally to be able to connect with my kids and other people.
Okay.
She really helped.
All right.
I mean, for me, it's it's funny, as a parent, and I'm going to say this, you cannot raise children if you're broken yourself. And if you, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you have to be actively working on your issues at the same time you're raising kids. Because, my mother, I don't want to put all her business out there, but my mother, she was a person who was, she suffered from low self-esteem and everything. And me coming into the world, I felt different. I knew, as far as I could remember being aware, I knew I was different. I knew I saw the world differently, even from the age of 3. And nobody had any problems of reminding me that I'm different, but in a sort of a negative way. I was very hyperactive. I would get names like retard and can you do anything right? And, my mother, for all intents and purposes, and I thought about this today, the positive side is, I was clothed, I was fed. She did tell me that she loved me. But see, the thing is, she would say it, but at the same time, make me, she would make me feel like shit because I was, she felt like I was so hyper. What do I do with this hyperactive kid? I can't relate. I can't relate to this child, so therefore I always felt like I was a burden to her as the only child and her being a single mom. So it affected my social skills growing up. It affected my relationships with people, and growing up in Neptune, it's historic and iconic in itself because we grew up in the town by the beach. We have the historic ambiance of Asbury. We come from a town where everybody knows each other and everybody knows of each other. We come from a town where our folks knew each other as youngsters. So here I am coming of age, and when Dre says a golden era, and you just feel like you don't fit in that realm. And it is hard to go to your mom to express how you feel, and your mother just says, you're being dramatic. Like she wasn't really touchy-feely either. She would just give a simple hug and a kiss, but after a while it's like, okay, you can get out of here. And it affected me greatly. I mean, growing up was horrible. I had traumas every day, but by just being made to feel horrible because you're just so different from everybody, and I always say people have had it worse, but it really affected my relationships into adulthood. When I had children, when I had my first son, I was terrified because I felt like I wasn't equipped with the tools to raise him. But I think at the end of the day, you have to put in the work to you have to put in the work to want to change the narrative. And we're at a point where we can no longer blame our parents. Because we're parents ourselves, we recognize that they too grew up feeling broken. Right. So what do you do?
They had a template. Yeah, they had a template. Yeah.
So I'm actively working on my issues. Being on here is a big deal for me. Well, not really. I like to talk, but
Like you
you
seem like
know,
you
but
home, brother. You seem more home than
you know, but I have to say, my awakening happened when I was like from 15 to 40 was the worst years of my life. All throughout high school, after high school, all that. But I had an awakening when I turned 40, and my foundation to what I'm doing now started at 41, with the birth of my second son. 45 was like, for the first time, I felt like, you know what, I could look at myself in the mirror and accept who I am, warts and all.
Yeah.
Look at all types of, imperfections and be proud of that. So, the journey continues for me. But yeah, I mean, for me, I always knew, always made aware of my place in the world from an early age, and you can't change the past, but you have to make peace with the past, you know.
That's
Yeah,
true.
So
that's very good.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
wow.
Jay, Jay, what's up with you? What you got?
Well, I could actually take a piece from each one of you, like listening, um, because it's so similar. But like when I have quite a few traumas, to be honest. Like,
Well, we gonna unpack it.
but
Just give us a quick
well,
overview. But we gonna
I don't know if I'm gonna unpack, but the one the one that actually sticks out the most is I don't really share this, but um like growing up I went to private school, and I remember like being pulled out of private school because I had other siblings and my parents could no longer pay for, you know, um me and my sister to go to the private school that we were going to because everybody had to, they had to make a way. And I was put into public school, which was, of course, Neptune Middle School. And
Oh, wait a minute. What? You went to Neptune too?
yeah, I know
Sure
you.
do.
yeah, she was in it too.
What?
Come on,
I
you
Remember her?
remember
know,
you.
Joanne was well, like
Um,
kind of famous, man. Like everybody know who
I was
Joanne
not.
was. Come on, man, Joanne. Yeah,
I
Long as
really.
she
Not, not,
behave.
I know we kind of got off. What year did you come out?
What year?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of my story. Well,
Okay.
it should have been
Go ahead. Go ahead.
'94, but it wasn't until '95.
Damn. Yes. 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 Okay. Go ahead.
Joanna and Sabrina.
But you
Yes.
you remember Joanne? I mean,
tell Sabrina I said
I
hi.
do.
I
Sabrina.
will. I'll tell her.
I do. I'm looking at it. I said,
I
wait
know
a
she was
minute.
still alive,
That's
but I'm
Joanne.
just saying, like tell her I
Wow.
said hi. I would like to say hi to her.
Yeah,
I
Sabrina.
Man.
would so tell her. One of these days, I have to do this while she's around.
Damn.
Um. So yeah, I ended up at Neptune Middle School, and the most traumatic thing. Oh my gosh. Um. I was afraid of us.
Black people.
Damn.
Terrified.
Damn.
Never seen so many black people in one setting. And I think my parents had us so sheltered. Well, not really Sabrina, because that, like, she was in her element, like for her, she was just like,
Yeah,
yes,
she
like
was
I'm
social.
home. But for me, it was like the most traumatic thing ever. I um I remember like going home and telling my mom like I want to go back to my other school and that I never want to go to that school again, but I didn't have a choice. I remember walking through the halls like, and I tell people stories now when I say like I kind of understand, and I'm thankful like for all the traumas I've been through. Like I'm really thankful because they've shaped
Hmm.
and molded me into like this strong being that I am.
That's right.
However, I could totally understand when like white people get uncomfortable about around like a group of black people. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
they, if that makes sense, like
Yes, it does.
how they kind of
Yeah.
like become fearful or whatever have you. Because walking through the halls, I remember like my first couple of days in school, I remember walking through and trying not to bump people and just like hearing like curse words, and people were just like, it
That
was
too.
just different. It
That,
was just
yeah.
different.
That
Like,
too.
Yeah.
yeah, because like in the private school that I went to, it was so structured. Like you had to behave a certain way, and I even walk a certain way because like in private school you had to sit up with your back straight, elbows not on the table, like just they had you structured just a certain way. Like so it's just things that kind of stick with you. However, um once I got to middle school and learned like that the word nigger was like or a white person calling you a nigger was like, you know, a derogatory thing, because I used to ask my parents like, what does this mean? And they wouldn't tell me, you know? And back then you didn't have like Google that you could go to. You didn't like you had a dictionary, but that word wasn't in the dictionary for you to look up. Like we had the whole encyclopedia, botanical, whatever.
I
Have you. And I was
think it
like,
was in the dictionary,
Everybody
though.
had one.
I think it was in the dictionary. I'm just saying, but I think
the
that word wasn't.
encyclopedia, but no, I don't think
I don't
that.
think it was in the
I
I
encyclopedia
it
think
though.
it
was
was
not in.
No.
I think it meant
It,
ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely an
Yeah.
encyclopedia.
Yeah, I think it meant ignorance. The word, how they pronounced it, nigger or whatever, meant ignorant. That was
Yeah.
the meaning
and
for it.
let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, I looked it up myself in the encyclopedia. I could never find this word. Maybe it wasn't meant for me. Maybe I overlooked it. It wasn't meant for me to find. I
Right.
would ask my parents, and they never told me. So it's when I went to Neptune Middle School when I found out what the word actually meant and how it was being used, because I grew up just hearing it all the time, like on a regular basis, you know, just like you have certain groups, you would have like parents that, you know, you would um play with their kid when the parents aren't around, and then when the parents come, it's like the kid doesn't associate with you, or the parents are pulling them away, and that type of, never correlated those things because you're a kid, like you're kind of innocent. So I went through a phase where, after being afraid of being around so many of us, I hated white people. Like once I started learning stuff about our history and like this, I went through this phase where I literally hated them. Like because I would say to myself like, I thought these people were like my friends. You know what I mean? Like, and to
Uh,
find out in middle school that, you know, it was like something totally opposite, like, you know, and they're like kind of laughing at you and whatever. So I went through that, hating white people and just like, and then trying to fit in. Um, and it's so crazy because people see me and they just think that there was always like this confidence, or I always had this. I was the most insecure being. I remember
I would
like
have never thought
being
that.
in class, and I had this one specific teacher, like even because of what I learned in private school, I used to say to myself like, I learned this stuff already. So I was getting like A's and A's, and the teacher would always say the only person in here that passed was, and I would hear like the other classmates like talking shit and saying stuff, and so I started dropping grades just so that I could, you know,
Assimilate.
kind of like get the eye off of me.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't
Yep.
want to get in fights.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bother people. You know, I
Yep.
didn't want anybody to bother me.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
of course, that brought problems at home because it's like, oh, you're talking different. You know, your grades are failing, this and that, whatever have you. And I remember them bringing me to when I got to, I think I was going to high school or I got to high school. They brought me in to do testing on me because they couldn't understand how I went from like getting straight A's to just all F's. Like I just figured like, you know, I was just trying to figure out, like, find myself, fit in, whatever. If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't even give a good damn. Um,
Pretty
So-
much.
but I was trying to like
Yes.
find myself and
Yeah.
figure myself out and just like my place because all these years, like I'm a brown skinned person. Like, what in God's green earth made me feel like I belong there instead of, you know what I mean? It's just,
So you
anyway. So they
Let me
did
ask you a
testing
question.
on me,
Jay.
and huh?
Let me ask you a question. So
Uh-huh.
did you feel like you came from a sheltered environment? Like y'all were sheltered?
We were. We were. I remember we lived on Westlake Avenue. We lived on Westlake Avenue, and because we
Asbury?
were too, no, in Neptune, like right, the same street that that corner store was on, that everybody would go to, like after, right near where Potty lived.
On Atkins?
On Atkins?
It's not Atkins.
It's
We were-
Westlake. I think I know what you're
Westlake.
talking about.
That,
It's like
that fish market. It was like a fish market or whatever. Everybody would like pile in that store, that little market on the
market.
corner.
oh,
Is-
you meant it's not it's the little it used to be the little Chinese couple that used to own it, but they don't own it anymore. But it's right up.
Uh-huh.
I know exactly what you're talking about. In that block between, it's not Jackson. It's not on the corner by Jackson Funeral Home, but it's like right in the middle before you get to
Right.
that little.
Everybody
that little-
walked that
Taylor-
road and
Taylor
they would go
Avenue.
to that
Yes,
chicken
yes,
fried.
where you.
Ta-
Yes.
Taylor and Lake. Taylor and Lake.
Yeah.
By
that's-
the by where the
Oh,
'cause
Mark
my mother
knows.
grew up-
Oh, the spot right
yeah,
on the
my
corner
mother
right
grew
there.
up in those
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah,
Those white
across from the white apartments. A little down
My
though.
mother grew up in that
Yep.
area.
I
Whitesville.
lived right
Whitesville.
on that street, and our house was. We lived like across the street from I forgot his name. It was like Lumumba and somebody else. His brother.
Yep. Yeah.
We
I know
lived
what
right
you're talking
across the street from them, and it's crazy because like we were so close to the Ave, where my parents were like, "That's it, like we're moving you guys," and that's how we ended up the hill because we were too
Wow.
close to, and they just like they really sheltered us.
So do you think that caused arrested development? Because sometimes people they gotta understand, like, trauma can be from too much. It can cause trauma. Like, you can have parents who coddle you or do too much for you or protect you from the world so much that when you get out there, you're crippled.
My
Yeah.
mother did
That's
that
a
too.
form of trauma.
My mother
That-
did.
that-
My mother did that too.
That was
All day.
literally my trauma because I didn't know how to, other than my cousins, I didn't know anybody else that looked like me. Like, my mom's friends were, white and just, you know what I mean? Like, so they crippled me in a sense where, like, I didn't know how to cope in certain environments. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just had to figure it out. But and I was so naive. Like I was just so naive. Like just some of the stuff. One story specifically. This was a trauma, and I held this up forever. I learned to forgive, and like Dave said, like you kind of heal from the past. Like you just you know what I mean. Like I don't hold grudges. I used to. Like I hated white people and just people that kind of were just took advantage of me in any kind of way. Like I just had problems with the whole world, and it's just things I had to deal with. But I remember one guy specifically. He had walked past my house on Westlake Avenue, and he was carrying like gym shoes or whatever, and I thought he was like cool, and he was like my friend. So he would stop and talk to me every day that he passed by. And he was like, "Yo, hold these for me." And just bring them to me at school tomorrow, whatever. And in the morning in middle school, they would do that cipher. Like the guys would do the cipher and all of that stuff. So I bought the sneakers to him during the cipher because just like he told me. And of course, all of a sudden, like I'm this big whore and like, you know what I mean? Like, and it just went from there. So like I have quite a bit of traumas, like in regards to that whole middle
Wow.
school toppling down type of, and that's all because I was sheltered and a little naive and just
Yeah.
trying to figure out my way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So DCL,
Wow.
what's
Yeah.
up with you, bro?
Well, this is a long story here now.
Keep
Well,
it keep it
I'm gonna
keep
make it
simple.
short though. I'm gonna make it short. My trauma. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well, I always stayed to myself. Period. I mean, I never really liked being around people from being a child. You know what I mean? So most of my time, I stayed in my imagination. That was my home, my imagination. I didn't learn too well in school because I was too busy thinking about what's in my head. I had this world in my head that I could never leave. So when I just didn't pay attention to anybody,
yeah.
man. Like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it wasn't a learning disability. It was just that I didn't care about this, like what was out here. But what was in here, I lived with it every day, 24/7, and still today. It never left me. I still
Yeah.
do the same thing. You see, I'm always by myself. So it's still the same thing. I always prefer my own time. So it kind of like left me kind of stranded in somewhat, and my mom's, she was there, she spoiled the shit out of me at the same time, though that really didn't help me too much, but she was just doing the best she could do. But she was like my guidance, like to take care of the important things that you needed to, the things that you needed to get through, life, like, just how can I say it, like helping me get jobs and little, because I didn't know how to do nothing else but do what I was doing, so I never thought I would even make it this far, you know what I mean, because I felt like I wasn't able to make it on my own, you know what I mean, so I because I always stayed in that world, so it was like I could never picture anything with me in the future. It was always like, who the fuck is going to take care of me if something happened to this woman? So I always thought like that. And it just kind of like left me behind. I had to basically teach myself how to do a lot of shit. Everything that I'm doing up till this day, like even from school, I had to teach myself. I had to teach myself how to read and understand stuff and all that. Because I was considered, I guess, slow, they said, but not, I wasn't slow. I just didn't care about the shit. But I had to like, I had to buy all these books, man. Like when I was working and stuff, I would just buy these English books, all this stuff. I would buy a dictionary, everything, and sit there and just start writing stuff on my own. And I was, and it's like I just started getting better and better at it. And it kind of it gave me a different outlook on life though, because I got a chance to see the world from my own perspective instead of somebody else bringing me into it. Like I had to bring myself into it. So it gave me a different way of looking at the world. So I had an outside view of it.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I always just thought that I would need her like 24/7. I just thought I couldn't think for myself. So they had me believing that I had a disability, you know what I mean? That I couldn't learn. That's why, I still got a kind of a grudge and against the world, and not people individually, but maybe a little bit, but but I just don't like the nature of how people are, because people are like taught to be judgmental, you know what I mean? So it's like I still feel like I gotta like prove something to the world, and like because the world is not nice, and it's not nice to people who have physical issues and
mental issues too.
mental issues and everything. People don't realize that they play a part on clowning people's natural selves. Like people get clowned, and you don't know what they go home and feel like that. Because I know when I heard people say things about me when I was younger, that shit damn near mess with my mind crazy. Like she's stupid. Go ahead.
And Neptune is Clown City. It's the home of snappers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the best snappers on the shore in Neptune.
Yep.
So, bro.
So you know,
That's actually how me and DCR met. And,
Yep.
and he's making me feel bad because I used to tease him.
He's not making me feel bad.
yeah, he did. He used to be. He was on my kill list.
Yeah, I was the epitome of I don't want to see him because I know what's gonna happen, and I used to go in on him on sight. But you know what I'm saying? It was all fun and games. This is how we became really good friends. But
Right.
like Dave said, we come from an area where being able to crack and laugh, like we spend a lot of time laughing.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean anything by it maliciously. And now I feel like I contributed to some of his childhood trauma. I apologize.
No, but it's like I feel a lot of people because I always like
You did too. You used to get on me too.
hell yeah.
You contribute to my shit too.
Yeah, Pot. Yeah.
I used to mess
Yeah,
with you
my
too,
pot
Dave.
used to
I
get
ain't
on
gonna
me,
lie.
too. Pot used to
Yeah,
get on me,
I was
too.
gonna say that too. I used to be
Pot
somebody
used
mess
to get
with
on
Dave.
me.
Oh wow, that's a shame, y'all.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I remember I wore this gray jacket. I guess I was in freshman year in
Dave
high
got
school.
stories.
Oh my
This gray jacket. Potty went like this. The hell? And it was over. It was over. Dre came in and it was over.
But see, I would say this, man. I would say this. For me, I genuinely looked at you guys as friends. So me cracking, it wasn't like I was different. We just had a jokey mind. Like me and Wally, that's how we were hardwired. We just loved to laugh.
Right.
But we never
But-
took in account that we might be hurting somebody's feelings because most of the people we cracked on, they was trying to get back with us, cracking back. So it was a
Yeah, but I know. Yeah, but Dre.
After
The
a
thing
while,
about
I did
Dre.
it too.
Hold
I
up.
had to
But the
develop
thing
those
about
skills,
Dre, what I learned about Dre, if you're close to Dre and you always around Dre, you gotta like look at the whole thing from a distance. Dre loves to be around a character. You understand? That
Yeah.
kept that. You know what I mean? Like Dre, you couldn't catch Dre around some a cat that was like, didn't have no like funniness to him or didn't like Dre
It's true.
liked it to be around a person that just kept him smiling or laughing. The character of you kept him joyful. You know what I mean? And I can understand that. Like, wherever Dre go, believe me, you will find some dude that's basically a natural, funny comedian type dude. He just loved to be around that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, man. But that's that. It is what it is, man.
DCR,
Huh?
Going back to your story, so is it safe to say that the form of trauma is mom overcompensated? She did too much, which stopped you from progressing at a level where
she never allowed me to try to learn. You know what I mean? Like I'm not mad at her for it. You know what I mean? Like she just thinks she was doing the right thing, but she never really she did everything for me, man. I didn't do nothing, bro. Actually, I was woke up by a relationship I was in. I was in a relationship. My mom was still doing things for me, man. So I was like, fucking, damn, I'm just embarrassing, man. I ain't even gonna say what age, but my mom, and my girl came to me like, damn, he's like, because I had to, I couldn't get around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that put me through a little bit of struggle too mentally, and I just stood up for myself, and that's when I really started growing. I started doing shit on my own. I was like, fuck that. I'm not even gonna call my moms. I'm not gonna do none of this shit. I'm gonna just fucking face it myself. And from then and there, that's when I evolved to something else. But I'm just saying, but through that whole time, it's just a lot of things from, coming from to that time. There's a lot of heartbreaking stuff, man. So, it's just, but I guess that's why I always feel for people when people say certain things right now, because they're like, damn, man, people really like, how we talk about racism all the time. Mm-hmm. We never talk about physical ism and stuff. Like, there is all types of isms. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this country is built on ism, period. Like, people will downgrade you. You know what I mean? And make you feel like less of a human being. You know what I mean? So
just for being different.
Just for being different and for looking different too. Just for looking different. You know what I mean? I mean, you could be the last
mindset.
Yeah. Like people automatically look at you as a certain thing just by looking at you. I mean, you could be a little person and the people look over you and disrespect you. You could be too big, you get disrespected. You know, everything is just so schism. Like people don't talk about that kind of stuff. Like how for instance, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna fucking go here. Like women with men, for instance. Like, you know, it's kind of dealing with that too. Like women prefer a certain type of man, right? But they don't consider this a certain type of man as a man if he doesn't meet those, you know, requirements. You know what I mean? So how are you to feel as a man if women don't even look at you as a man? Stuff like that. You know, just from your physical frame or your height or anything. If women don't see that in you, how are you supposed to look at yourself with confidence? What you know, you gotta, you know, prove yourself to try to prove yourself to be what you already are. So I'm just saying, but that's how the world is, you know what I mean? So
And to
people
add on to that,
are hurt every day from that, man. You can't change something like physical about you.
yeah.
You know, you can't
Yeah.
get like, you know, you can't change. So people even like some you know, women, if they don't have a you know, like a nice body or something like that, how do they feel, man? Like, you know, when you don't have the things that you feel like all men want, what do you go through? Like, you know what I mean? That has to be a struggle, man. And that's why I have some type of agenda against the world, because even though I'm attracted to certain things, I curse myself out. You know what I mean? Like, I tell myself to shut the fuck up. I tell myself when I judge a person, my alter ego, whatever self, is like, who the fuck are you? I'm always talking to myself because I say I stay in my own world. It always reminds me and checks me. Like, shut the fuck up. Who the fuck are you?
Self-evaluation.
You ain't got no right
Yeah.
to even look at a
That's it.
person.
You're
Who the
right.
fuck are you? You stupid. I call myself stupid, idiot, punk ass, all kinds of stuff if I'm judging somebody, because I know it's wrong deep down
But
inside.
but that's just the language that your other self can relate to. That's what you have to do to kind of you know, get the other side to react and comply. And I think a lot of this comes from growing up, because our parents, keep in mind, you know, if you would have came from a household where mom or dad, either or, instilled those things in you as a man, build you up as a man, presented you to the world as a whole man, you would have went out there with that level of confidence. You would have exuded that in your everyday
True.
life.
True.
True.
And that's a form of trauma, because
Yeah.
you have to build up people. You have to build up your children. We
Yep.
didn't get that. We had to figure that out along the way.
Along the way.
Along the way.
It's so
And I
funny
never
that
left
Pat
them.
said,
That's the sad part, though. I'm sorry. I just never left that person, to be honest with you. The only thing is I know how to take care of myself, and I know how to, you know, survive in this world, but I'm still that same kid. So it ain't never really changed. That's why I'm alone all the time, because I don't like being around people. I don't like being around females. I don't like being about nobody. I just like being in my own world and doing my thing. It's just the truth. That's how I feel. I can't be around anybody after a certain amount of time. I just realize who I am. And it's not like it's not a positive energy. It's actually, it's stimulating as hell to me. But once you know who you are,
I mean, I just recently got out and started, I've gone to therapy, and, even as late as last year, I was in therapy. So, it's a constant growth. You just have to sometimes take the chance and just try different things, because that helps with your growth too. I myself recently, I'm training myself to be more social, because
Yeah.
as the result of my traumas and what I explained earlier, and not relating to people and having people not relate to me, I was never taught to be social either. So this is something that has taken time for me. If someone invites me somewhere, I'm going. I'm opening myself up a little more. And the ones who gravitate towards you, they gravitate. The ones who don't, they don't. I think
Yeah.
we're at an age where, should we even give a fuck about that?
Right.
Don't. I'm
You know,
telling you,
because I'm
you don't.
because in my oldest son, I see me. He's just like me, but he's stronger. He's much stronger than I am. So I know where he's going. So if I'm not healing myself, I
How do
can't
you
set
feel?
him straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's really
So
good. That's a good way to
yeah,
think about it. When you think about stuff like that, and just even, and I I was thinking a lot about um what Potty said and stuff like that, as far as like being in your own world. Like Dre has memories about different things in our childhood that I cannot remember. Like I literally think I blocked out a certain amount of years. Like he
Me
talks about
too.
stuff. Yes, like he talks about stuff. You don't remember this? You don't remember? I'm like, no, no. Like I do not remember. And
What
like how
wisdom.
Potty say he would be, I have no idea. Like he would say, like you're saying that you would be in your own like imagination. I have to tell you, and I have no problem saying it. I'll tell anybody at this point, but I play with my dolls a lot. I played with Barbies a lot for a very long time. And I think that I was able to go into this, create this other world
Yeah.
that that just
very easy to.
I did. I just like as Dre, like I played with my Barbies for hours. That was like that's what I did. I did have friends, and I had the same people from like first grade on up. It was like no new
Wow.
friends really. So it was really weird, but I played with my dolls, and I think that was my world. So certain things when Dre will be like, you remember? No, no. And I don't. And I don't know why I blocked them out. And I don't know, I can't remember a lot of things, and it bothers me. I didn't even realize it until he would bring up certain stuff, and I'm just like, I really don't remember like a lot. I don't remember. And even dealing with the insecurities, when you guys were just talking about the different insecurities and different things like that, like even though my grandmother was very loving, she was extremely insecure. So I was on the heavier side, so she always reminded me of that. So it was almost like things that you were not to do if you were heavier. You were not to walk around and eat food because people were going to say something about you. You were not to, you couldn't wear certain things. Don't wear that. Don't do this because you're going to look a certain way. And because you're heavier, you're going to be that person that, they're going to talk about you. They're going to point at you. They're going to say stuff about you. So I always had to be always aware, and I think it bothers me now that I always worried about what people thought of me, because that's how she did. She always worried about how people were going to think that if her hair wasn't right, if her clothes wasn't right, if this wasn't right. And then I got to the point where certain times I'll do that. Like you will not see me out like eating a piece of chicken or something, like walking and eating food. Like I won't do that. Like that's one of my insecurities. Like I won't walk around eating like that. It's a lot of things I won't do. I'll carry a bag but it's a lot of things I won't do. And I feel like I got a lot of that insecurity from my grandmother. So it's really, you don't even realize some of the insecurities you take on from, just in your childhood. And that's from the trauma, because my grandmother didn't think she didn't think she was beautiful. She didn't think she was pretty. She didn't think she was worthy. She had a couple kids. So when she got married because she thought that's all she could get, because I got kids. Nobody else will want me. So she always had that low self-esteem, and it's like, but she was the strongest woman I knew. Like my grandmother had a third grade education, but she had everything, and she would give me anything I wanted. And even up to the day she died, she always told me like, you're my favorite, you're my special one. And I'm just like, Grandma, you can't say that, you got like a million grandkids. But she always made me feel that way. Like she always made me feel that way. And I will cherish her forever for that. But it's just the point that I wish that I could have bought her some type of piece to say, you're beautiful. It's okay. It's okay to think highly of yourself. It's okay to not think. She thought light skin meant you were beautiful. That was her thing. If she was lighter, she thought that was like end all be all. And I'm like, Grandma, you are a beautiful brown skinned woman. There is nothing wrong with you. But that's just something she grew up with it in the South, like in the South, because if you're light, it's right. White is right. So and that was her thing.
And that's still the world today. No, but it really goes all kinds of ways. It's still the world today. People are judging people by skin color now. Like it doesn't
Yep.
even matter now. It's on all sides. People are judging people on some stupid shit today. It's like that evolved into damn near, if you light, you're bad, if you dark, you bad, if you this, you bad. Everybody got a perception, and those are the things that make me not respect the world. I just don't respect the world. You know, I don't care no more. You know what I mean? You know, that's how I feel up to this point, because that shit is primitive. Why would I waste my time judging a person by their skin color anyway, whether you white, black, or brown, or anything? Everybody has a different spirit. Everybody, you know, you got nice people that look this way. You got nice. I'm not going to sit there and just look at that person and say, okay, they're bad because of their skin color. I'm not going to look at that person and say I'm better because of my skin color. I'm not. That's the most ignorant thing ever. I don't know who made that up, but that shit is ignorant to me. That's another thing that pisses me off. But again, the world is cruel. Again, 100% cruel and judgmental. And people, it is like, even I ain't even gonna go there, but I ain't even gonna go there. But it's just messed up, man. Like we got to be better than that, man. We got to start. You know, that's why our kids are so they're sensitive at kids, because they don't see color at all. Kids don't see color, man. But their parents will drive it in them and create this thing, this vision and this thing. And I think America does that on purpose. They use the parents, they use everything to keep everybody in this, you know, mind state. Like, okay, I've been hanging out with this white dude all my life, and I never looked at him as being a white dude. But now, as I get older, I'm being exposed to white people, this and this and this and that, and this and that, and he being exposed to it. Then you start looking at each other a little differently because of what your parents and what the system wants to put this, you know, the damn shackle in your brain between you and this person is going to build something between you and you know, those people. Oh, if their ancestors did it, then I'm going to treat them just like their ancestors. I'm going to look at them as their ancestor. You know what I mean? So it's like they want to create separation. That's this whole thing runs off that formula. You know what I mean? So we got to stop, you know, pointing fingers at people, because you got good people, man. People will save your ass. They don't have to be this or that, man. People have spirits, man. Spirits don't have colors, man. You know what I mean? So it's like we gotta just get out of that simple ass shit that we be fucking living our lives on, man. They poisoning us, man. They got us doing dumb ass shit, man. They can pick out our actions just on the dumb crayons that they doing.
DCR.
Huh?
Let me interject, because you know you in a zone right now.
Yeah.
You gotta just jump out there, because he'll keep going. Jay, did you want to say something? I saw you bubbling up over there.
I was gonna say two things, well, maybe three things, but one thing, David mentioned that something about a jacket, which reminded me of walking home from school one day, and there were these guys, all white guys, behind me, and by the time I got home, I didn't know. Like, I walked from First Avenue to Fourth Avenue, and I was walking with my friends, and none of us knew until we got to the corner of my house that the whole way there they were like spitting on my coat, like on the back of my coat.
Wow.
Damn.
That was like you were saying the gray jacket just kind of like jogged that memory.
Oh
But
my God.
with Pat talking about you know, women or men looking a certain way, and you know how you can look in the mirror and feel secure. For years, I didn't show my forehead because people will always say like, "Oh, you got a big ass head. You got holes in your face. Like your forehead is so big, like, you know." And it was always about my forehead, how big my head was, and my cheeks. And so for years, I would not, like, now I don't give a trust me when I
still sexy.
I would say my head bald. I could care less. But like, I just wish I knew then, like what I know now. Like, you know, but for years, because of, and it reminds me of what you said, Naisha, with the chicken. Like, if you're big, you don't, you know, you shouldn't be eating chicken while you're, like, these are the perceptions. Like, I have family members that treated me and Coca, me and Sabrina different. Like, they treated us better than like my other cousins because we were lighter than them. And it's not till I got older where I'm what kind of lifestyle is this?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I
Yeah.
love black skin so much. I don't know.
And
There's
that's a
probably,
trauma.
that's probably
Yep, that's
Yeah.
where
trauma.
that comes from.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
that's a
um,
trauma. That's a trauma. That's a trauma.
Yep.
yeah, it is. I'm telling you, I have a lot. I write a book. I got a whole lot,
Yeah. Oh my
but
Exactly.
gosh.
it has shaped and molded. Like if it has just shaped. I don't hold any resentment. I don't like. I can't say that. I have enemies.
Right.
I like. I don't harbor those things. Like
Yeah.
like I had to learn, you know what I mean? Like to move past them. And I've never been to therapy, which would actually probably help me through a lot of
Yes,
stuff. But
therapy
I
is.
just kind of learned that, we just certain experiences we go through, like you take what you need to take out of that and try to understand why you went through it and
Yeah.
try to create it,
Yeah,
make it better for like your
it's
children or your children's children, just to, you know.
it's all about changing the
Exactly.
narrative. It's all about, and this is a term that I hate, changing the narrative, but it's true.
It's
You
so
just,
cliche.
if you're rearing the next generation of greatness, then you have to change the narrative within yourself.
That's true.
We are
Yeah.
taking what we've learned, good and bad, from the past, and we're changing it into a positive, beautiful thing. For years, I've always hated Neptune because of what I went through, the experiences I went through. I just felt ashamed, always felt ashamed. But now, good or bad, I love Neptune because I am who I am because of those experiences.
Yeah.
We are
Right.
who we are because of what we went through. And,
Exactly.
my children love going there. So I realized, I said, I can't really hate this town because every time they go back home, they enjoy walking the same streets I walked to
Yep.
go to school.
Mine
You know
too.
why they enjoy them streets? Because their
Exactly.
DNA is in them. Your DNA is in them. Your experiences is in them, and
Exactly.
they feel that homely. They feel like that's home to them because was your
Yeah.
home. So they genetically
Yeah.
feel.
Right.
It's
crazy.
almost like
So
a sense of it's a sense of
it
pride
changed.
too. It's a sense of
I'm
pride.
sorry.
They're proud that their parent is from, different
Yeah.
situations and stuff like that because like my kids, they actually were able to go to Neptune High School. So my two older ones actually went and had the same teachers I had. Like that was just wild to me. Cuz
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm 18, so when my daughter has like the same teachers I had, that blows my mind. But
Yeah.
but for the most part, it is a sense of you do feel it. I didn't have any crazy traumas as far as like in school that much. I mean, I feel like it kind of went by. I love everything Neptune. I'm not gonna lie. I mess with my kids all the time because they did start out in Asbury at the charter school. So I kind of always, I'm a flyer for life. I like messing with them with that. So, but
Yeah.
I
I think we
embrace. I
all are.
love. Yeah, I really embrace like them, like just talking about what I did when I was younger and stuff like that. And even,
Yeah.
even like though my brothers, they just like ditched me and left. Like even though they left, like you see Dre, he come back every year. Like, but for a long time, he
Yeah.
didn't come back for a long time. Like he
And
wasn't even
you
here.
know why I didn't come back?
Why didn't you
I
come
didn't come
back?
back because of childhood trauma.
Oh.
That's why I
Well,
didn't come
see,
back.
but then that's a
Yeah.
part of my
Yep.
trauma as well because it was me and you. Like it was just me and you. It was me and you against the world. So when you left, then it was me
That's
Yep.
how
by
John
myself.
that's how John feel. He felt the same way. Like he feels like me and you
Left
left
him.
him. Yeah. And I
And
left
it is
because of
kind of
childhood
like that.
trauma.
Like
I
you left me, I left him, and it was just like it's crazy because I feel and I feel bad like with John. Like I always know I definitely feel bad with John and everything. Like our relationship isn't closer and because I mean I have a son that ain't even, what is Vince like 25, so not that far, really from John. John probably was what 10 or something. So when I had Vince,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like I did because after you left, I mean, what was I like 16? So I just started working, and was like in my own space, my own world.
Yeah.
It was just like I wasn't even home. I tried not to be home as much as possible. I would just like anywhere but home, just worked and that was it, or just tried to form different friendships or different things. But it was kind of like I felt some kind of way. I was just like, I wasn't mad at you. A little bit. I was mad because I was like, you left me. And I'm like, I still have 4 more years to go. I'm like, it wasn't like I could just be like, okay,
Nobody
let me
thought.
just go.
But you know
Dre
what?
bailed out. He left
Nobody-
everybody. Dre
Yeah,
No, but
he
you-
left.
everybody,
Let me-
man, with
let
a
me-
dream.
But let me clear this up. And I'm gonna say when I told everybody I was leaving, nobody believed it because it's like nobody leaves. You don't leave from around here. Well, where you going? But
Yeah.
the thing is, I used to take a lot of trips to the South. You know, most of us got family in the South, so I used to take a lot of trips to the South as a young kid. So I had a lot of good experiences in the South. So I had a plan. Like I'm gonna leave and go down south. But here's the thing about Pot. When I told him I was leaving, he didn't believe it. He didn't believe it until the day came where I had to go to the airport. He went to the airport with me. And as one
You
of
can
my
keep
best
that to
friends-
yourself. Don't share that story, dog. Don't share
I
that.
didn't say it, but
Did you cry? Did you cry,
when I
Potty?
tell
I don't ever
you,
cry. I
yo,
don't cry for nobody.
he broke down like Celie and
Yeah, man. Don't you go
He
there,
had
man.
snot coming on his lip and everything.
Oh
But
man.
that's-
Oh my.
But that's when the reality set in. Like, yo, my homeboy is leaving. He's like really leaving. Like this is real. But I left due to let me dig a little bit deeper into some of my childhood traumas growing up in my house. And we had a level of let's just say a level of abuse in my home that I didn't like. No one likes abuse, but that abuse had a strain on me and my mom's relationship because a lot of people, when you go through things, you want let's say one parent is the bad guy. You want the other parent to be the good guy. But if the other parent won't be the good guy, your relationship with both of them is estranged. So you feel alone. So me and my sister went through things, but we went through things together because we felt alone because we didn't have the support of the grown-ups who were supposed to be there for you. So our trauma was on a whole nother level. So when I got the opportunity to leave, I left. And when you're looking for a mom to be there for you in those time of needs and she's not, your relationship with her gets tainted. To put it in a nutshell, me and my stepdad, we just didn't get along. It just didn't gel well. Along with things that have been done that I wouldn't divulge here. But the bottom line is I look for a mom to be there. Mom wasn't there. So that caused a strain on me and her's relationship. So when I left, I didn't even call home. I was just, I was good. I didn't develop a decent relationship until later on in life where we had to sit down now and we had to talk and we had to put everything on the table. And I had to tell her how I felt about this, that, and the third. And it wasn't just me, but it was me and the sibling, my siblings. We had to put all the cards on the table and discuss everything. And the bottom line is what goes into making you who you are is still by divine, because if you overcome it, you become this better person. It's like pressure creates diamonds.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is I have a better relationship with my mom today because we were able to heal, discuss it, and move past it.
I love you more.
And I don't take any of that for granted, but just understand childhood traumas, the ones that I experienced, went into some of the pitfalls and some of the challenges that I had later down the road in life. Because when you look at the fact that I had a lot of girlfriends, but I was emotionally void because I didn't know how to express that. that came from,
I love you
you
too.
know, growing up in a house where mom didn't display it. She wasn't available because as a child I felt abandoned when shit was going funky. You want mom to understand, you know, mama's baby. That wasn't there. There's no
Yeah,
relationship.
I
So
didn't.
it's just me and my sister.
Yep.
We had to ride it out.
Mm.
But we were able to grow,
Yes.
heal, and we're much better today because of that. We have great relationships today because of that. And that's one of the things that people have to really take into account, the fact that if you don't heal from this, you're going to repeat the cycle. You're going to pass this down to
Yeah.
your kids. There's
Yeah.
things that happen in the black community that nobody wants to talk about
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it may disrupt your entire family structure. So nobody says anything. But with that, you run the risk of repeating that cycle. You got to stop it somewhere. It has to be talked about.
Yep.
People have to face that. But so yeah, I wanted to throw that in there because that you know, I get what my sister's saying far as she felt abandoned because it was just me and her, you know, as two little kids going through all this BS and with no support. So it was just we had to create our own worlds,
Wow.
you know. And you know, back in
Well-
those days, we watched a lot of HBO.
Did we ever? The
We
specials?
You know, we can quote verbatim those 80s movies because that was our solace.
Wow, yeah.
Y'all know about them, you know, watching the Goonies like 1,000 times.
Yes. Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
What was it? Better Off Dead? $2.
Yeah.
Me and you still.
Yeah.
What
Like-
you want to say, Dave?
I mean, at least you had a sibling. I had no one.
Yeah.
I didn't have a father. I just had a single mother who I was abused. You know, I was abused. And my grandmother was someone who was just in her own world. She wasn't really good with expressing emotions too.
Yeah.
So, but when she got in that ass, she got in that ass. And me and my grandmother never had a tight relationship growing up. And I always felt my mother, she could have protected me more,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
she always, it was always 2 against 1. And that's a powerful trauma for a kid of, let's say, this thing started probably when I was 6 or 7, maybe probably 4 or 5 years
Wow.
old, all throughout my teen years. You know, it's, you know, and because I grew up in a house full of women, I know now it affected my relationships with women.
Yeah.
Aside
Wow.
from being depressed and insecure and all those things, I was scared to talk to girls. I ain't had no girls in school or anything like that. I was frightened of girls because of
Yeah,
that.
I was too a little bit, man. You was kind of on the same level.
Yeah,
You was
we
kinda
were.
on the same level.
We were, you know, feeling inferior to everybody, you know. So at least you had a sibling that you could, it was you and your sister against it, literally against the world. I had no
Yeah.
one. So like Pot, I had to go into my imagination. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't the most athletically inclined kid. So I remember I was always the last one to get chosen to play a sport.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Which for me, it got to the point where I didn't give a damn because I could go into my imaginary bag too. You know, but at the same time, it still hurt.
Yeah.
It still hurt. And coming home and telling my mother this and that, I didn't really get any, oh, well, you have to do this and that. It wasn't really no
support.
no
Yeah.
support. So these things really affect you. And at some point you start to pinpoint shit and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where it happened
Yeah.
here. And that's the cause of this. And that's
Yep.
the cause of
Yep.
that.
Fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
We don't forget. We don't
We don't
forget. I know you
forget.
don't. I know you probably don't forget a lot of things between, you know, back in the day, between anything like us, whatever, like the things that were said, it stay in
No,
your
I know.
mind.
I know.
Because I haven't
But you know
forgotten
what?
that for me. I haven't forgotten nothing,
I
dog.
don't, but at the same time, I really don't value it because at the same
Right.
time, I realize that kids are kids, young
Yeah.
adults are young adults. They don't have the maturity and the mentality that we have as
Right.
those
Right.
of
True
us in our
indeed.
mid to late 40s.
Yeah.
True. True.
You know,
True.
so you
But
know,
but it's like you hold on to those, but it still be with you though. You never forget.
That's
You
right.
never forget when you're hurt. I mean, you remember every single time through your whole entire life when you were hurt. No matter how
Oh,
young
yeah.
you are, you do
You
not
do.
That's
forget
right.
the times when you were
Yeah.
hurt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You just don't
And I
forget.
always felt like an outcast from everybody anyway. So yeah, me and you, Pa, we're in the same type of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
my
So
years
how-
weren't good.
It's weird.
Can I
hearing
ask?
you say
Can
that.
I ask both of you? Oh, sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, now.
No, I was just gonna say how, like you guys were saying, like even with your experiences and all that different things, how do you like break it down? Like you said, David, with your son, like do you talk about how old is your son? Do you talk about your experience as far as like just helping him to understand that everything is good, or just different things like that, just showing your kids or being different?
Oh,
The reason, yeah.
no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let
Okay.
you finish.
The reason I say that is because I noticed too, like some of the things, like even that I just noticed with my mother that she kind of incorporates onto my daughter, and I have to kind of like kind of have to say to her certain things that you can't. It's a
Sure.
different breed, so I have to kind of school her to what to say or certain things. Even though my daughter's 19, but just to say, that hurts her feelings, or that bothers her, or you might want to say that a little different. Like me and my mom have that relationship now where I'll say it to her. I'm like, well, Mom, they're different now. Like the kids, it's a little different. You can talk to them. You don't have to, we don't talk at them. You talk to them. Like I sit down, I say, well, Mom, you hurt her feelings. I'm not like one example. My daughter is really tall. So, and she has big feet. So I remember when at a certain age, she couldn't get cute shoes. So this is how my mom said it to her. She was just like, "Oh, you're a size 9 now? Oh, you could forget it. All the cute." She was a 10, I think. You can't get any cute shoes. My daughter literally broke down in the store.
Oh,
She
see?
broke down
Yeah.
in the store, like her whole,
Yeah.
like she was just in tears. And my mother looking like, well, why is she in tears? I'm like, that hurt her feelings. Like you just told her, like it's almost like you're not gonna be pretty anymore. Like nothing you buy, like your feet are just horrible to the point where you can't buy anything. So my mom had to. I said it to my mom, and she had to apologize. So even like we're just saying, like that cycle of just changing things. So me and my brother, like we're at the point where we could kind of tell my mom, like, Ma, like, what are you saying? Like even my nephew comes in the house, I'm hungry. My brother said, didn't you just eat? And she's looking like, feed that boy. And my brother like, you didn't do that with us? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
so we're able to, like, just correct the situation from a long time ago, letting them know, like, yeah, that stuff back in the day, that it doesn't work right now. Like you hurt, I literally told him, like, you hurt her feelings like that. And she apologized. She went and told my daughter, she said, I'm sorry. She was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I mean, my daughter was devastated, but I had to tell him, like, Ma, you can't do that. Like you can't do that. So, and it fixed it, but it helped her.
Mhm.
And
Well, for me, my son just turned. My oldest son just turned 13.
Uh-huh.
So, from the time that he was able to walk and talk, I would, pretty much from the time he got into, I will say preschool, I would tell him. I haven't really told him anything about what we're talking about. I feel like he doesn't have to know right now.
Yeah.
But
if he had a situation.
He can watch the show though. He'll know in the future.
Well,
You
no,
said watch the show.
Well, listen, yeah, because this is forever, right?
Yeah.
So starting from preschool, I would tell him that you are a king. You are you are perfect in God's creation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then once he got older, I would tell him more stuff, like never be ashamed of who you are. When you look in yourself in the mirror, be proud of who you are. Be proud that, if all those weird things that people say, he hasn't told me people said anything about him. Why?
Yeah.
Because he accepts himself for who he is. I planted that seed from the time he was 3 years old.
Yeah.
because from very early on I could see, okay, this kid is me. He has a lot of my he has a lot of me in him. So now I have to get him straight because he's
Yeah.
about to embark in the time of his life where there's going to be a lot of changes. So that it's all a part of changing the narrative. Like I tell him that now. I say, listen, you're about to embark on high school. I ask him, okay, how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about certain things that you did? Do you think you tried the best you can? He says, yes. I feel I could do this better. Okay. Besides that, how do you feel about yourself? He says, Daddy, I feel good. Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. Constantly training him. And the youngest too. Well, the youngest has no problem. He already knows who he is, but
He learning
it's
age,
going to
bro.
come a time. Yes, it's going to come a time, but it's all a part of your environment too. It's all a part of your environment. My mother told me she loved me, but at the same time, she would say things that would crush me.
Yeah.
You can't tell your kids that you love them, but at the same time, call them retarded and stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you gotta pick one.
That does hurt from a parent. When a parent call you that, when your parent call you that, you feel like there's no hope for your ass.
Yeah, stop being retarded.
That's horrible. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's
being retarded. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's a hard one.
That's a hard one. You love me.
But you know what parents do that I hate? I mean, I'm trying to change, but parents do this. They would spoil a kid all their life and then try to disown him. I'm like, you done created this whole way for this child, and now you want to like get rid of him because you failed. You failed to teach them how to survive on their own, but you've been catering to them for so long, and you feel like you could just kick them to the curb when you tired of them. Like, it just don't work like that, yo. You know what I mean?
Go ahead, Jay.
A lot of parents do that to their kids.
That's
I mean, like you raise a kid a certain way. It's gonna be hardship. Kids are actually, to me, it's like you going to the army and you got a sergeant. Your parents is a general sergeant, whatever. It's like you're really just learning. Everything is about learning. It ain't about being catered to, really. Because you're supposed to be do chores at the house, do all your assignments, do all kinds of stuff. Your parents supposed to do none of that for you. So if your parent gonna do all that for you, and then when you get to a certain age, be like, "Oh, you don't know shit, you stupid," and this and that, and throw you out to the streets. Whose fault is that? Shit.
Right.
So a lot of parents do that to their siblings. I mean not siblings, but they kids. You know what I mean? They get tired of it.
I actually lived at home till I was 33, so I didn't have that experience. But I did once I started working in the city here. That's when I really, my disassociation with Neptune and everything started when I started working here in the city. So, but I was still living at home, until I met my wife. So,
Jay,
very unique story.
Yeah.
Jay,
you was chilling in New York.
Yeah, I love it.
What was I gonna say?
Where you live at now again? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Joy.
No, that's okay. I was gonna say something in regards to what. Pot was talking about like spoiling. I really need to think about because listening to him, I'm saying to myself, like I have enabling tendencies, so to speak.
That's
You're
what
not
mothers
alone.
do.
You're not alone. You are not alone.
I have enabling
Yep.
tendencies. So
You're not alone.
I don't want to be that crutch, and then something happens and I'm not here, God forbid, and nobody knows how to function. You know what I mean?
That's not.
You're not alone.
And I do it with my grandson. It's like
You just need balance.
But there's a whole totally different ball game. Like when we look at like my mother, my parents, and I would say certain things like, "You didn't do that with us growing up," or there's a whole total. I'm listening to you guys, and your kids are like 13. My son will be 30 this year. So, you
Damn.
know, I mean, I had him
30.
at 16. You know what I mean? So,
Oh wow.
like, he'll be 30 this year. So it's like that whole grandson, grandparent thing, like that's it's a totally different ball game. So I never understood it before. Like, why are you treating him different? You know, we used to get beat for that, and it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a totally
Well, no, Joanne, my son
totally
is
different.
25. My son is 25. I don't have
Oh,
grandchildren
okay.
yet, but I
Oh,
do have a
geez, man.
25-year-old. But I have to tell
Oh,
you this,
okay.
with my
So
grandmother. Yeah, I have to tell you, my grandmother always said, when you have grandchildren, she said it's a different type of love.
I
And she
never
said, she
understood
says,
it.
she says, I love my kids. She says, but she said, I love you way different than I love them. I didn't know what that meant.
Honey,
I'm not there yet, but I felt it, but I
I
don't
know
know. Like,
exactly what it means. I love my kids. I love my kids, but honey, the grandbaby.
you jack them kids up for that grandbaby. You like, they don't even matter no more.
Honey, if he even whines, I'm like, did he eat? Did you change him? What's the matter with it? Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's a different
totally,
story.
totally different. I
It's
always
a,
tell
it's
them
a,
they had him for me. Like, this is
yeah. But
totally different.
I did start all over again. So I do have a 4-year-old. So I do have,
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah. And you know, I liked, David, how you were talking about your son, like, even saying how he feels good about himself. I'm a little jealous of my 4-year-old's personality, because
Why?
he says how, like, he just has this confidence.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even talk at one point, and I
Uh-oh.
So
Uh-oh.
connection issue.
Uh-oh.
Unless
And
her
she's about to
phone
go
got
in too.
signal.
I know, I know.
But let me ask something right quick, because somebody asked me. I had a situation.
that's what he
yesterday.
does.
Oh,
He
you went
just
out.
I went out. Oh, I'm
Oh, you
sorry.
went out
Like,
for a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, I
You
did.
said
Oh,
your
I'm sorry.
4-year-old has confidence.
Yeah, he has like this like, he walks in the room on some old, like I'm here. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, he just has this air of like he already knows himself at 4. And I'm like, I just feel
Nurture
like huh?
Nurture it. Nurture it.
Yes,
Those are
because
the upgrades. Those are the
That's right.
yes, he literally, like, he will say hello to everybody. He doesn't care what color. And I know we say they don't see color.
My
He
youngest
does
son's
not
like that
see
too.
no color, no nothing. And then when they don't say hello, he's like, "Mommy, they didn't say hello to me." And the kids that are in his class right now, he has the Spanish kids, the little white kids, everybody. He's like, "That's my best friend." Like, like, he's having conversations. And his teacher even said, Michael is like the mayor. Like, he's saying hello, like what? I'm like, I don't know, but it's just this
My
confidence
son's
he
like
has.
that too.
I'm like,
Yep.
I'm like, I'm 40-something years old. And I'm like, I just don't have as much confidence as this little person has when he walks in the room or when he walks down the street, because people don't expect him to say hello. And he's just like, hello. A lady in the store said, "Hey, baby." And he said, "I'm not baby. I'm Michael." And she said, "Oh, okay." She corrected herself. And everyone, and he didn't even look back to say it to her. He said it facing
Right.
forward, like, I'm Michael. I'm not baby." And I was
Yep.
just like, oh my God, like, it's just this. And I feel like we did say, like, it's this different era of children where it's just like, I wish I had that confidence now
It's being
when I walk in
exposed
a
to the
room.
world.
You
That's
do.
why. They are actually being exposed with technology is exposing the world to them at an early age. So they really got a head
Yeah.
start, to be honest with you. It's like they starting at a young age, where we started acting like that around 14 or 15.
Yeah, you right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you are right.
because we ain't know nothing about the world like that. They already exposed because they got the computers, man. They got access to stuff that we. Come on, man. They're like 6
He's on
years old.
YouTube. He's on
They
YouTube
got
more
the
than me.
book.
He know how to maneuver that tablet and do all that. He up right now.
Oh yeah.
Right
My
right
son
now.
too.
Yep. Know how to. Yes, Michael. Oh, shh.
But
Okay.
that's
Look, you
They
shushing
can
me.
find anything on that thing. Anything. They
That's a
so
good
much
example of the
better than
generation.
you. They're better when it comes down to that
Yes.
stuff.
My 2-year-old grandson, the iPad, like he knows exactly. But I swear, I think this kid is like a rainbow child or an indigo kid or something, because this kid is like, there's things that we haven't even taught him, and he knows them already, and it's like we look at each other like, how the hell does he know this?
Hi,
Like,
Uncle Frank.
you know.
Hey, Duda.
Uncle Dre
Like,
said,
wait a
"Hey,
minute.
Duda." You say, "Hey, Uncle Dre." You say, "Hi, everybody." Yeah, he see Uncle Dre because he thinks he's a comedian like Uncle Dre.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm,
He's the jokester. Ask him
yeah,
like,
yeah,
who's the
yeah,
kids?
yeah,
I said, "Who's the kids in your class?" I said, "Who's your friends?" He said, "Uncle Dre," and laughed real hard.
man.
Uh, it runs in the genes,
Yes.
but nah, the kids are upgrades, just like we upgrade in society with technology. The kids that are incarnating now, they have to be sped up and to acclimate the system. So they're gonna be they are our upgrades biologically,
Mhm.
but they are sped up on so many different levels to interface with the society that they've been born into, and that's just natural evolution. That's just how it's
Order.
supposed to be. We
Mhm.
came into a time where we spent a lot of time outside, so our
Yeah.
growth was a little
Sure
staggered, a
did.
little bit,
Wait,
you know. But that was the natural progression. But somebody asked me, um, um, I'm gonna give y'all an example of something, and this is directly linked to childhood trauma.
Mm.
Um, Saying good morning is a big deal for me because I don't say good morning to people. And people say, why don't you like saying good morning? Right? I just say what's up. I don't say good
I
morning. People be
noticed
like,
that.
people say good morning, and I'm
Oh.
like, what's up? Here's why I have a weird
Mm,
thing about saying good morning.
mm.
Growing up in a house where me and my stepdad didn't get along, and that's a nice way of putting things. That's a nice way of
Hold
putting
on, people.
things. Because when you look at the fact that me and my sister were in a very, very, very dark place where we were contemplating things, not so nice things, you know. It was out there,
I'm glad y'all
but
didn't do anything.
we didn't. But here's the
No.
thing: when you're in a situation where you're confronted with this personality that you hate, and that personality says to you in the morning, good morning. In your mind, it's like there is nothing good about you saying it, and there's nothing good about this morning. So I as a kid, I just hated saying good morning because of that. So when people say good morning to me, I still have this unconscious impression of I don't even want to say good morning to people because of that. That is trauma that has stuck
Mm.
with me. I
Yeah.
say what's up.
Wow.
That's childhood
I say
trauma.
hey. I
And
do a little hey.
I noticed that. I noticed that, and I noticed it. I noticed it.
yeah.
I've never asked. I've never said anything, but I
I
noticed
say
it.
it. Sometimes I don't say nothing.
But that's a
Like,
good example of childhood trauma has how it carry over into your adult life, and there's things that you do you don't even realize that you do it, and it's
Mhm.
because of some shit that happened to you or you went through, and that's just how you get
Yeah.
hardwired later down the road, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize it and correct it, and I've softened up it, and I say good morning here and there, but I still be like, what's up, early in the morning. And I'll say it, you know, when I get around my mom and everybody, I'll say good morning. But saying it still makes me feel funky when they ask me in the morning. When I'm at my mom's house, I'll be like, hey, what's up? Childhood trauma.
And she will look at you sideways. She will look at you
Yeah.
and be like,
No,
Dre,
I just say
that's
good.
how you greet me in
Yeah,
the morning.
yeah. I just say good morning because you know, but it makes me feel some type of way because of everything that happened.
Mm.
You know.
And
So go ahead.
that
oh
makes sense.
no, and I just wanted to add to that, even like how we said, like, it just being us against the world, and even just not having fathers. Well, you knew your father enough to know that you could say daddy. I didn't know my father enough to call him to say anything because he was gone way too soon. So it did shape me with, I guess, in relationships as well. Like when we talk about, when you guys were talking about different your relationships with females and different stuff like that, that shaped my relationships with men. Because my first real relationship, he was 9 years older than me, so that's almost like I was looking for that daddy figure. So I'm looking for that person to take care of me or to protect.
Come in, y'all can come in.
You know what's so crazy?
So
Like
yeah.
I could actually, it's like listening to each. I tell you, I could write a book, but listening to each, like you and Dre, the same thing. Like that's why I was always Joanna and Sabrina, because like
Yeah.
we were what we had.
Wow.
Don't want to touch too much on that, but
Yeah.
you know, my stepdad raised us, and so I can relate to a lot of. I mean, I can relate to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But listening to each one of you guys, even Pot, even Pot, like I could relate. Like I could so relate. It's just I don't know. Yeah,
It's a lot.
I can relate.
It's a lot.
The world has to be changed, man. The world got to start.
I so
People
agree
got to
with
start
that.
respecting each other and stop trying to get ahead of each other. You know what I mean? Like, you know, everybody seem like they on a road to be better than each other, and they don't have to think that way. It's just the way we're, you know, playing this role in this so-called life that we live. It's put us in a position that we always trying to beat somebody else to the finish line. You know what I mean? We racing each other just to get to this certain point. You know, so everybody's just racing for no damn apparent reason.
You know,
Nobody
it's funny
looks
you
at
said
it
that.
as like
Yeah.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. Naisha.
No. Go ahead. No.
Nobody looks at it as like this we are on like this journey or this road. We all have different paths, but like the destination is not, it's no different. Like that's how I see it. Like it's the same destination. It doesn't matter who gets there first. It's the same destination. It's just, you know, some people have to jump hurdles, some people got a straight and narrow, some people, you know, have to
Right.
go through mountains, and you know, but the whole consideration thing of how we treat people and how, you know, we need to I really hope, because I have this thing where there's a lot I don't remember. I've had people say, "You don't remember me from high school? You know, I was this happened and that," and I'm like, "I don't remember," and they think that I'm acting funny or something, and it's like
Yeah, you was in your
I
bag.
straight think that I blocked a lot of things out. However, like this this episode today, I hope I have not ever like caused any type of trauma for anybody. Like whether I knew, you know, whether on purpose or just jokingly, or you know what I mean, like where somebody's like
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, I remember she did this to me," and you know what I mean, like. But I legit I think I just blocked a lot of things out, and I just kind of, even people, like, you know, and especially now you
What-
see somebody, we don't look the same as we did from high school, so you
Yeah.
definitely
the
may
same.
not remember certain people, but they get offended. Like people get offended
I look
and they
the
think
same.
you're acting funny, and you know, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to do right now, you know, have some closing remarks, and then we're gonna go to the chat. Um, to sum it up, for me, it was about growth, and it was about recognizing and accepting the reality of what had happened and healing from it and moving forward. And that was real important for me. And that's something that I have mostly conquered. I got some fragments here and there, but yeah, I think I fared pretty well. I think my family has fared pretty well considering. But I think going forward, a lot of families really need to break cycles. That we just gotta break cycles. We don't want to pass this over to our children and they repeat the same thing, and it gets worse and worse and worse as it gets repeated. So we definitely need to break
Yes, it does.
cycles. And yeah, man, just you know, be mindful.
Everybody just want to live their best life, man. You know, everybody wants to live the best life. Everybody want to like reach the goals, that their own personal goals. We all got personal goals,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
Everybody got personal goals, and it doesn't have to be the same direction that everybody. everybody expect you to reach this place where you don't really even want to be. Yeah, man, I'm going this way, man. I don't want to go that way, you know.
And that's
But
okay.
that's society.
That's okay. Going your own way, that's acceptable too. But I will say this: I've had a blast. I have fun. Love my Neptunians. We had fun. We could literally make a movie out of some of this stuff, man.
I'm
had
ready
fun.
to make a movie, man. It's called
Yeah.
Stone Cold
Yeah,
Killing.
it's all about it's all about enjoying the journey. You know,
Yes.
I've learned to, and I started this process when I turned 45. By the way, I learned to enjoy the journey. It's a
Yeah.
journey. You know, it's almost like taking a long drive down I-95 somewhere, and sometimes on the way to your destination, you're going to get off at a wrong stop. But the important thing is to get back on the road.
Right.
That's what this life is. And sometimes you have to go back in order to find out what you can do to fix.
Right. You always got to go back. You always got to go back and look for that old wrench. You got to go and find that old.
But here's the thing: you go back, but you don't stay there. You go
Right.
back.
You got to borrow something.
What you got to do, and you bounce. And you bounce.
Yes.
What happened to us? What happened to us? It's a part of our foundation, so we can't get away from it too much. But we can certainly grow. I think we've all have grown from it.
Yeah.
But you know, make peace with the past, but don't stay in the past, because you know the present and the future. It's a beautiful thing. That's
you know
what
what,
I've
too?
started to really
like
learn.
that.
It's beautiful, you know, the good and the bad and everything, you know. So that I think that's what I'm taking away. That's what I've been taking away from everything. You know, I could see myself growing every day. And now because of that, I'm now able to embrace my talents and my purpose.
Yeah.
That's another conversation.
Now, Dave.
Yes.
You know, going through this conversation that we've had since the beginning of the broadcast, and I'm a read. I think it was Chico.
Yes.
Chico had a comment, and he said, "Let me see." And this is for you, Dave. He said, "I can put it on the screen. Y'all see that?"
Oh.
Oh,
Ooh. Oh wow.
Now,
I see it.
So here's the thing about that, because when he put it up there, I resonated with that. Me and you spent so much time laughing and joking and enjoying the scenery as two goofy kids that went to a remedial class here and there.
Yes.
I never, being that I was in the passenger seat with you as we had this experience, I never once equated you was going through something. I always viewed you as a happy kid that used to make the beats on your
Me
chest.
too.
You had,
Yeah.
you was
I'm
the
known
only
for that.
kid- You was the only kid in elementary school that had penny loafers on with pennies in them.
Yeah.
So I didn't, and you were the only kid that I knew who had a good knowledge of Black history pertaining to us and music.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
you was
never
definitely a
looked at you-
musician, dog. You was a musician without an
never-
instrument.
Looked at you in the sense of, and I guess this goes for everybody, because just looking at us and laughing with us, you don't know the type of pain and what we're dealing with on the inside and what's going on in our households. But I never equated you of having anything go on that was troubling until me and you actually spoke not too long ago on the phone, and we had that talk. So, and Chico said something else. He said, you know, we all had a similar theme growing up.
Yeah.
We went through something.
And
But
that
nobody
I would
talked
have
about
known that, because I've always felt like I was on the outside looking in, coming of age.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have known that anybody else was going through similar situations. You know, but I guess and learning that my peers,
Okay.
yep, I saw that too. Learning that my peers have had similar situations. Now I'm like, wow, I guess I'm not the only one. I guess who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? But yeah,
Yeah.
listen, my aunt used to say to me, because whenever I would come up here to New York, my aunt didn't know. Because my aunt would say, when you came up here to stay with me, you shook that off, which I did. I felt so much at home here in New York City. I felt like a part of the fabric. So I left
Wow.
all that bullshit in Neptune. But when I
Wow.
came back, that's when I'm like, ugh.
Gotta
You know,
be
I
it.
hated to see my mother pick me up. You know, so I guess I was good at shielding the hurt
Yeah.
Masking.
Yeah.
and wanting to present this side of me to the world. You know, I didn't know that I was affecting people. I didn't know people thought of me like that. You know, I have Facebook friends that we all went to school with,
Mhm.
you know, and they're like, well, you know, how they feel about me, how they felt about me. I'm like, word? Really?
I think
Me?
because we were all in our own bag. We were all in
Yes.
our own bag, and nobody.
Right.
Yeah, we were all in our own bag. But like I said,
Really?
me, you and Pot,
Mhm.
we, you know, we had a closer bond because y'all cats actually came to Atlanta with me and spent some time.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Summer of
That
'97.
was an
Yeah.
experience. That was an
That
experience.
was an experience.
yeah.
Getting those wallabies, buying wallabies from the Asians.
So yeah, we definitely had
Close
a
the door.
closer bond.
Close the door.
But like I said, I would have never equated that.
Oh man.
And the funny thing is, I'm gonna share this.
Go ahead.
When I called you, this is before we even spoke about any of this stuff that was going on with you. I felt it in my spirit.
You did.
Something wasn't right.
You
And I
did.
called you. And initially, you was like, I'm good. But I knew it was more. And we
Yep.
started to talk and peel back the fabrics of the
Yep.
whole thing. So it's a
Right.
weird relationship that you have with certain people where you can feel it. And I felt it. I said, let me call
Right.
Dave, make sure he good.
Yeah.
Then we got
I-
down to the meat and bone.
Right. Shit, I was out coming from the I forgot where I was doing the errand. I was like, Drake called me. I'm like, I don't get this call every day, so you better answer the phone.
Yeah.
And I think our conversation planted the seeds for our topic tonight. I have
Yeah.
to say.
So it's been in the making. A lot of the panel didn't know, but me and Dave had this conversation, and we planted the seed
Right.
for the show. And I
Right.
knew once I did the show, it had to be right, and I wanted certain
Yeah.
personalities to be on.
Right.
Um,
Right.
And thus we're here. I want to go to the
I
chat.
think Gregory said I was the Black Mr. Rogers or something.
Yeah, Mark.
Man.
Let's give a shout out to
That's the second time I heard Mr. Rogers' name called today.
Mark Friendly.
Right.
He said peace to everybody.
Turn that down.
Peace.
Peace.
Y'all know Mark.
Hey, Mark. What's up, Mark?
He's an avid supporter.
All-
Of course,
All of
G
our brothers are on
G
tonight.
is in the chat. G said, "Peace, my brother and sister." That boy was hyper. He was talking about you, Dave.
Yeah.
He called you hyper.
He was no quiet slouch himself. So
Nah, he wasn't. He wasn't. Remember when he had that? I had a Renault, and he had a station wagon, like that little station wagon he used to drive.
yeah. He
What
had,
was- he had a
it
nickname.
was a Ford. It was a Ford station wagon.
Who y'all talking about?
Gregory.
Gregory.
Oh, the Ford station wagon with the beats
Yes,
and
sir.
everything, yo.
Hell yeah.
Gregory was balling in that motherfucker, dog.
Hell yeah.
That shit
he
was dope too. Yo,
Yep.
that shit was dope for that time.
Niggas
That
had
shit was
licenses. I couldn't even drive.
dope.
That
Dang,
was
man, niggas had some crazy cars.
feeling left out again. Everybody had
Uh-oh.
licenses, but I couldn't even drive. Shit. I was like, damn, I ain't never gonna catch up.
Now, one thing about Dave, I would say, Dave was a walking ass dude.
I sure
Dave will
was.
walk
I had no choice. I couldn't drive.
anywhere.
Yeah, but you in New York though. You was walking still, right? I know you ain't driving around in that
yeah.
cluster.
Th- th-
Huh?
th- This is a walking city. This is a walk.
Yeah, man. I go there almost every like 3 times a week. I usually go to New York to make deliveries, man. Brooklyn and Manhattan is my main areas, man.
Okay,
I can't,
okay.
yo. I be in Brooklyn 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, trying to get there before traffic or these stores, so I could be in the back, whatever. Get the shit off real quick for everything. That place is a cluster, man. I'm telling you, I don't know how you do it, brother, but I hear you. It's a beautiful place.
Fabric, bro.
I can see Dave living in New York because of the rich history.
I want to live there too, but I don't want a car.
He just that dude.
I just don't want a car there. It's a nice place if you don't want a car. If you don't want to own a car, New York is perfect.
Yeah,
You guys
Chico,
are making me miss
going back to
being
the
up
chat.
north.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
I
miss
said you
being
guys
up
are
north.
making me miss being up north. I haven't been there since '09. Like,
Wow,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
that's a
I mean,
long time.
You wouldn't recognize
You
it.
ain't
Right
missing
choice.
nothing.
Right
Yeah,
choice.
it's so many
I think the
things have
last time I
changed.
visited,
Yeah, so many things
I'm
have changed.
sure. The last time I visited, I was supposed to be there for like a week.
It's a whole new
By
place
like
now.
the second day, I was like, I'm getting out of here.
Your memories are crushed. None of that stuff is only maybe shit. Everything is damn near a different store or don't exist no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
It's
when
real,
I had to make
real
a delivery to my old school. I went to my old school. I had to drop some heavy equipment off because they turned it into something else, an old vocational school. Actually, it's still a vocational school. And I'm thinking that my teachers is still there. When I heard when I heard that I was going there, I turned into a kid. I was like, oh shit, I used to go there. Like, man, that's like damn near 20-some years ago. So I'm going there and I'm looking for my teachers. I'm looking for my teachers like a little kid. Like where's whatchamacallit? Where's this person? Where's that person? They don't even exist. There's no pictures of them or nothing. All of those teachers, everybody just don't exist no more. And I'm about to cry like a little kid, dog. It's like I felt lost, man. I was like a little kid in a place that doesn't exist. Like those people, those spirits wasn't there anymore, man. And it made me feel a certain kind of way, dog. I was real lost, man. Like a grown ass man. I went in there. Where's Mr. This? Where's Mrs. That? We never heard of those people. Who are they? You know what I mean? That messed me up, dog.
Oh, you was crushed. You was crushed. Oh.
I was crushed. And I'm thinking like, damn, I'm damn near 50 years old. They shouldn't be here.
That's how it is when you go in Neptune, man. None of those people that we was in school with, them teachers, they're gone.
Yeah,
they
a lot.
But it's like a generation. It's just a generation that just wiped off the earth. It's like you got to keep that generation here. It only exists here. Our kids and nobody will ever know about those people, but the people who are in that generation.
Like B Park and People
I need you to
Place.
stay up when I shut
Oh
up.
my God, People Place.
People Place is a memory that
Yeah.
we'll
It
have
don't
to tell
even
stories
exist.
about, and it don't even exist.
Yeah,
anymore.
it's like
Project
US1.
Media and People Place.
I remember
it's
going
like
to
every time I go
US1.
back home, it's different.
Huh?
Yeah.
B Park is gone. Summerfield is gone.
It's gone.
It's a glass house.
I felt some type of way about B Park.
It's like the field is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when you start thinking about that, how deep that is, though, you see how a generation actually just disappears. That's why you gotta hold on to the elements that were most loved during those generations. You gotta hold on to those elements, like something that was big during that generation, and keep it as an antique because it represents your generation. That's what people don't think about. There's things that like old thrift stores and maybe antique places, whatever and all stuff. Certain things that we take for granted are treasures. That's what people don't understand. And it is some people that actually collect that stuff because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
They
I'm glad
collect
Ocean
treasures.
Grove
You might not pay.
is still standing. I'm glad Ocean Grove is still standing. A lot of memories.
Yep.
there, man.
And our
But no, I
stuff
could,
was built
No,
to last.
the
yeah.
old high
No.
school is still standing. Our school got torn down, bro.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gone. Like the elementary school is gone.
Yeah,
The Ocean Grove Elementary School is gone.
it's gone.
But just that little part
Oh,
that
the
says the high school is still on there is still there. Yeah, so the elementary, it's gone. That big auditorium,
Oh, I'm hurt.
all that stuff is gone. Yeah, it's gone. It's a
Ridge
parking
Ave-
lot. It's
Ridge
like nothing.
Ridge Avenue, they
Wow.
turned that into apartments. I'm like, come on, man.
Oh,
Everything's
guess who's
gone.
gone too? Tripoli's is gone.
Really?
Tripoli's is. You know what I'm talking about? The mechanic place that was on the corner.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yep,
sir.
they
Yeah,
gone. I
gone.
just saw
That
that.
dude retired 4 months ago. He retired, shut it down, and now it's a place to hold ovens and stuff like that. When I seen him leaving, that almost made me feel a certain kind of way because that's another landmark. I'm like, damn, man, he's gone. It's like your family is like disappearing slowly by like they just disappear like a movie. You know how they show pictures of people like on Back to the Future, like shit just fucking disappearing like.
Yeah.
It's not even there no more. It's like invisible, just slowly going away.
That's how I
And-
feel
I feel
about
like
and-
I would come there and just be lost.
when they got rid of
Huh?
B Park. I
Because
felt some
everything
type
I
of way.
remember from
Yeah.
that back then, it's nothing is probably
No.
the same. Listening to
Everything is really different. Like I get like what you said, Patty, like going into your school and just like every time I had to go to school for my daughter, now we're going to high school. It's like I wanted somebody to be like, "Hey, Naisha," like or that smell or that locker or that like just something to make me think of remember walking down those halls. And but I have to tell you, like when she went to the middle school though, she did have the science teacher, Miss Benjamin. She had Miss Benjamin, and that woman looked so. She didn't. I'm like, I wanted her to recognize me. Like, you don't remember me, but it's just like it's not there anymore. But it just because you miss those memories. You miss those memories. You miss those things because I never knew what my grandmother meant when she used to say, "I don't think that I'm old. I'm still thinking like as if I'm young." Like your mind doesn't think that way. You're still thinking like I remember high school, I remember graduation, I remember project graduation, I remember all that stuff. Like, but when she's
life goes on.
yes, like she doesn't. When she said that, like now I'm realizing that, and when I see it through my own kids, I'm like, wait, hold up, I'm not. My daughter's 19. I'm not 19. Like you're in your 40s, Naisha. Like, but I feel like it when I get around her friends and I'm like talking, I'm just like, oh God, I'm old. I forgot. Like I'm older than them. Like I'm somebody's mother. Like so it does. It kind of deflates you a little bit. Like going to homecoming with her and
I felt trauma from that shit. I just felt like I'm like, damn, I'm too old.
Yes.
Where my teachers at, man? I'm like, is she dead? Is she alive? I was worried about shit like that. Like, are they dead? Are they even on a planet? So I started going on Facebook, and I went on Facebook and started looking up the names, seeing if these people were still alive.
Oh
and
my God.
None of them is on Facebook, so they must be old as hell. Because they were old when I was young.
If they were
So
I have to tell you.
young, and we in our 40s, it's
yeah. But no, I told Dre, I don't know if y'all remember the principal from Ocean Grove. Like I saw his obituary. Like he didn't die for a long time. Yeah, Mr. Knapp like just died. He just died. It was only a couple years ago.
He passed away. Yeah, he passed away like what? Last year or 20?
Yeah, he was old then.
100 and some change.
I remember missing.
He was up there. He was 90 something, I think. He was 90 something. Because he was old when we were little.
Yeah,
Mr. Knapp, I never forget him.
He was old. Mr. Knapp was a wild.
Mr. Nonnenberg, equipment holder.
Oh my God, with the leg, with the leg.
Yeah, that bothered me. He passed away.
Yeah.
Bill bothered me when he passed away. All the people structure around your growth. All the people played a part. All those spirits. But I'm gonna tell you one thing about teachers that I love. Maybe the school systems aren't great or anything, but a person that's willing to try to make your life better is a very important person to everybody. Teachers don't get no respect from me. They don't get no kind of respect, man. Teachers are some of the beautiful spirits on the planet. You know what I mean? They're there to see you move to the next level. You know what I mean? They're there to help you, and you got some better ones too, like better teachers that's really putting all their time to see you go forward. Because I had teachers like that I'll never forget. You know what I mean? We forget about those people, man, and they like this small, but they're the most important people, man. Like we never think about the teachers. The teachers they're always forgotten about. You can move forward and be the greatest person in the world, and you never mention your teachers.
Right.
Well, you want to think about the ones that made the most impact on you. I used to ask kids. Yeah, I asked myself, like, what teacher made the biggest impact on me? And it was my fourth grade teacher. And I still see, you know what's so crazy? Now she has a child the same age as my daughter. And I actually went up to her, like, my senior year, and I went up to her and I was talking to her, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, we're parents, like, we're peers now. Like, that was crazy for me, because I'm like, she has a child the same age as me. And it was just, she was a young teacher, but it was just like, that was crazy. That still blows my mind to this day, that remembering her and then seeing her and then going up to her and be like, do you remember me? I think she did say she remembered me, and it was crazy because we were her first class. So she remembered me.
We should do a show on teachers.
But let me
We should do a show on teachers.
Yeah, let me run through this chat right quick so we can go ahead and close it out. I'm just going y'all can see the chat, so I'm gonna post what they're saying, what they said on the screen, and we can give them a shout.
The Renault. He said, "Wow, the Renault." I'm sorry.
Keep it brief now. Keep it brief. Let me see.
I'm sorry for those of us who can't really see. Can you?
So when you see
that's right, Chick.
That's Chico.
Chico.
Beat technician.
Yes, sir.
Peace,
Chico.
peace, Chico.
Peace, Chick.
So we got we
I
all
don't know
got some kind of
Chico.
vice or insecurity. We're human. Don't think you're an anomaly. Which is
That's
true.
right.
I like that. I like that.
Gregory, OMG, Potty, I remember Godzilla. Yeah, Mark said, I don't care what somebody thinks about me. As I get older, I know how to tune people right out.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's
You
a skill
have
you
to.
have to develop.
Definitely.
Yeah, when you get older, you start to value things that you never value. You start to
right.
value who you are. That's why I was saying,
Yeah.
actually, with this, you know, people saying that people are dressed in all kinds of ways and all. People are finally, like the young generation, they're finally being who they want to be. They're expressing.
Yeah.
You gotta respect them for that.
They're not trying to look like everybody else. They're not trying
Yep.
to. I gotta wear what you wearing to look like, just to fit in. I gotta wear this to fit in. People are actually now opening up to who they really want to be, like what they really want. So people think they're looking for attention. No, they're actually just living out what they always want to be. You know what I mean? There's no more like your friends looking at you a certain kind of way if you don't wear the same shit they wear.
They're just feeling free enough to express themselves. Kind of like what we was doing in the 80s. 80s was the same way. People
80s, man, we had to wear the same. Oh, no. 80s was different. But I'm talking about.
Yeah.
80s was free. 80s was
Yeah. I'm saying 80s was different. Yeah. But I'm talking about in the 90s and stuff. If you didn't wear Timberlands or certain things, your ass
Or or classic Reeboks, or you had.
I wore none of that shit.
Or a pair of skids.
Yep.
Cross colors.
Some leather kids.
Lumberjack.
Yeah.
I'm still rocking my lumberjacks now. I got lumberjacks all over the house. Yo.
But yeah, let me
man, I'm still rocking my lumberjacks, man. I got like five lumberjacks right now.
Lumberjack and a Scully. You was good. Chico said he needs you to narrate his kids book. Dave.
Hey, I'll do it. Listen, I'm here.
You said you got a nice radio voice, the black Mr. Rogers. Gregory said, I thought Dre left because I kicked his fishing pole in the water.
Oh, he talking about our fishing days. Oh man.
Yeah.
I got you, Dre.
Got you, Dre. I got you. We used to have pseudo therapy sessions on the weekend at Miss Butler's house where we
I never knew about that.
Issues. Formed a life-changing bond with my brothers.
I never knew about that.
Yeah, she was deep.
I love Miss Butler.
Yeah, I love Miss Butler.
I always felt like I was outcast from there.
Oh, I love Miss Butler.
Yeah,
she
I love
was
Miss
very
Butler.
nice.
I loved it too.
Yeah.
She was cultured.
I don't know. I just
yeah, very.
I got a question for y'all. Miss Butler, is she relative to the guy that in Asbury Police Station, Mr. Butler?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I
No,
don't think
because
so.
they're from
He always
Chicago.
got your back too. I always think about him when you go to Asbury. Like it was, when I see his face, I always felt like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here. When I see Mr. Butler, and you got a ticket or something, you always be like, yeah, I'm good, Mr. Butler up in this joint. I used to like that.
Jay over there tapping out. Crazy. We probably our home life is unique.
G
Yeah.
said he had a Pinto wagon. That was a Pinto wagon.
A Pinto.
That station
Yeah.
wagon.
Jerry was chilling in his wagon though, man. In that whatchamacallit. And you had the
I
Renault.
remember we rode around listening to what's the 411.
With the cop light.
Got a cop.
Oh, shit.
That's what he said. What did he say with the cop light?
Those are the beautiful
Wow.
days, though, man. Y'all can't front, man. We had a good time. The early late 80s to early 90s.
Yeah.
We had a great,
Yeah, it was
great life.
It
We
was the
lived
music
great.
and the culture that sustained me, really. You know?
Yeah, we lived a great life, bro. We experienced a lot of nice Neptune Asbury rivalry games. We did a lot, man. It was beautiful. We need to do a movie on this stuff, man. Man, yo, how do you even get into writing? Because I would like to write a movie. I mean, I would just like to write a movie just from the ideas from that time. Somebody needs to bring a movie, like an 80s movie or something to bring it together, right, man? Like how it was in the 80s and how we lived. You know, snowballs get hit in the mouth and the face, crying. You know, man.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of relative to like a Christmas story, but not a Christmas story. But you know,
Snowball fights. Yeah, man.
and I think that's why I like Christmas Story, because
Hey,
Christmas
Dave.
Story kind of reminds you,
Yes, sir.
huh?
You remember we used to ride the school bus and we'd be jumping up in the back waiting for the
Jumping up
potholes?
and down. Every time the school bus hit a pothole, you'd be like, oh,
Yeah, we were bouncing way up in there.
bounce up.
You know who the bus driver was? Phil.
Phil.
The barber. The neighborhood
Phil the
barber.
barber. Yep.
Man.
Out. Chico said
Yeah,
we were
I-
all a bunch of weirdos and I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yo, we had good times, man.
We
We
wasn't
had
weird.
good
We was just trying to
storms.
find
We had
our way.
everything.
Mark said we
Yeah.
was just trying to find our way. And then Chico says, nah, fam.
Nah, fam.
I knew my way from early. I knew who I
See.
was, and I was cool with being different.
And I think that's
Oh, my.
that's what I always admired about Cheek, because
Right.
I was ashamed of embracing that. You know, so
Me
Yeah.
too.
it was
Me too.
just-
I mean, that
You know
time
what
I
I'm
was.
saying? Like-
I was.
I wish I had this dude's confidence, man. I'm like, damn. But you know, it's never. I say to everybody out there, because I know this is going to go on YouTube. It's never too late to start, man. It's never too late
Yeah.
to start to find your way. Never too late.
Yeah.
As long as you got breath and good health, it's never too late.
Somebody says, Joanne, I was in your neck of the woods the other day. Where you used to live.
Where you used to live.
Up the hill and down the
I
hill.
can't believe
Did
it.
y'all ever live in Asbury?
We did.
Okay, because
We did.
the brother from the other podcast, Ricks, he said, I know them. They used to live in Asbury.
On 4th Avenue.
So he was right.
Wow.
Wow.
Who was that? Mark Throwback Skids. Remember them?
Yeah,
Throwback
you know that's
Skids?
smart. You know that's smart.
You should put
Ain't nobody
Sabrina
but
on the
Fraser.
show, man. You should bring. You should bring Sabrina, man. I just want to see Sabrina. I see Sabrina 1,000 years, man.
One of these
I'm
days, I'm
bugging.
gonna,
I'm like,
gonna
I'm
make
looking
sure
at
she
Joanna
just
real.
to
I was
pop in
like,
and say
oh
hi.
shit.
Huh? Does she watch the show or no? No, she don't watch it, do she?
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't want.
So, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, everybody that was in the chat, everybody from Jersey who came through and supported. I appreciate that.
I think we need to do a part 2, man. Neptune, a Neptune story. Bring all the brothers on.
I'm actually gonna try to get something together and do something where we can just kind of reminisce on, where we come from.
Right.
And
Yeah.
have people
Right.
and have people, our Facebook friends who are from where we're from, to, you know, light up the chat and just share their stories and just have one big, you know, get together. And that's just how
I
we
don't like
do
to
it.
have to. See, I know you never experienced 11th Avenue, right? Like Ninja Night and all that stuff. I don't think you ever was a part of that stuff. But
Nah, I wasn't a part
I
of
used
Ninja
to go
Night.
over there though. I the 11th Ave Posse.
What was Ninja Night? What was that?
I
we
remember
all
I
would dress
used to
up
be
like
over there
ninjas.
sometimes.
We all would dress up like the whole neighborhood would dress up like ninjas and have teams and niggas throwing salt in each other's eyes, all kinds of stuff.
Oh my-
Hiding under, you know what I mean? Like it was the war out there, man. We used to have that night though, man. Ninja Night was
Oh
the
my
shit.
god,
Yeah.
that sounds crazy.
Ninja
Yeah.
Night.
It's the strangest thing, but why do I remember that?
What, Ninja
I
Night?
didn't even live on that side.
Huh?
Well, I didn't even live on that
The music's
side.
coming
Like,
on.
but that is
It's time
that
to
like
go.
sounds so familiar.
Yeah, Ninja Night?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something-
I mean, I used to go over
maybe that was in a
when I was
past life
hanging with
that she was
Aaron's
playing with
sister.
y'all.
Maybe that's around the time you were doing that.
Yeah, we were. Ninja Night was a big thing. Everybody, even the females, were dressed up like damn ninja.
Yeah, I don't know why I remember that.
Childhood memories. Well, this is the POD podcast, Put Out Direct. I am your host, Brother Mordeed. I would like to thank my panel for coming through, and I wish everybody the best in their healing. And we out here to be better. So on that note, I want to say peace, and everybody, do not hang up. Stay on, so we can discuss some things behind the scenes. But
Okay.
I want to give out a big piece. Everybody be safe. Neptune family.
Peace.
Bye bye.
All right. Out. This
Yeah,
is what
it's
it's like
like-
behind the scenes.